Welcome to 5 Strike Weekly, everyone. PT Watch is officially over, ladies and gentlemen. The man is an Atlanta United player. But now that everything is done and dusted, we're left wondering, what's next? We discuss all that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Strike fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube or hop over from Facebook and subscribe. The 2018 South American Player of the Year is here. Thank the Lord. I mean, it's finally over. Pity Watch is finally over. But, I mean, he's kind of been here since like Monday. But, and our boy Devin was on the scene at the Atlanta airport. And boy, was he greeted by the entire 5 Strike fam, or at least 50 of them. That
still not a bad showing for 5:30 in the morning on a Monday.
Indeed.
You know, the day that no one really feels like waking up at 5, 4, whatever it was to get there. Pity himself looked pretty tired as well.
With good reason.
He just took a red eye.
Yeah, took a red eye. It was 5:30 in the morning, probably with a reason why he took a red eye, probably to avoid a crowd.
Well, about that.
Oh well, this is what we do. But in terms of that, though, it was great to, see him really greeted with that Que Loco Que Esta chant. And then also, I mean, people had some, gripes with how, he wasn't really smiling. But again, he just came from a red eye. Maybe he had to see a man about a dog. It's something that's, I don't think you can blame him too hard. And
besides, not smiling seems to be a thing for, forwards minus Miggy.
Named Martinez.
Yeah. It's just kind of a theme. It's fine. Just go with it.
But, I mean, and then, you kind of have this kind of radio silence. You don't know what's going on. Everybody's asking, when is the announcement going to happen?
You know it's coming.
Yes. I mean, it's clearly coming, and because you saw somebody from the team also pick him up, so it just made sense. I mean, and you also saw, like, Ryan, the social media guy, he was filming him. It's quite obvious at that point. But it's just a matter of when it happens. But, you get that teaser the night before, and this morning, on a Thursday morning, it finally happens. You get that Darren Eales cryptic tweet. And man, he's a man after my own heart because he put some Led Zeppelin lyrics in there. Oh man, so good, so good.
Easy on the track. That man is. That's his new official nickname. I'm quoting it. I'm saying that's what it is because honestly, he makes all of this look so easy from his perspective.
Yeah,
he never seems, fussed about anything. He's gonna troll the entire fan base.
Right.
He's gonna troll the entire league, the world to a degree in terms of footballing.
It's true.
I mean, he's loving life right now, and he's honestly just doing a great job. And today, like you said, officially announced that Pity Martinez is an Atlanta United player.
Right. But that tweet, I mean, it said, "Not in the evening, LZ in the morning, and whilst she may not, we certainly shall." Very cryptic. I mean, I admit I was not the first one to get it. But there are people that were very quick on the scene. I think probably with, a little quick, copy and paste, you can pretty much find it out, I think, though. And it's from Led Zeppelin's In the Evening. And, you kind of scroll through the lyrics a little bit, and then you see it's "Play you for a fool, she don't show you no pity, baby." I mean, that's it. That's, it's difficult to probably get that because it's, a lyric that's later on and it's not in that tweet. But I mean, jeez, I mean, Led Zeppelin.
If you know anything about Led Zeppelin songs, they can tend to be a little bit long.
That's true as well. But Led Zeppelin and Pity Martinez forever linked with something in Atlanta. Oh, just
funny enough, that's not the only thing forever linked with the Pity Martinez announcement we might like to add.
That's true.
I am really excited about this guy that hasn't signed or has signed or will sign.
Atlanta United hasn't said anything by name about the player.
Before you even see Pity Martinez's face, you see or hear rather our voices,
our beautiful voices.
And I mean, it's mine, Tanner's, and Devin's on the channel. That's amazing stuff. I thought my computer was broken. Like, I literally did not know.
He was blowing up our WhatsApp group, and me and Devin and everyone and Martin were just like, "What are you talking about?"
Because everybody watches videos in silence.
Exactly. We were just like, "What's going on?" We don't know what you're doing. And then I look it up, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'm not fully understanding that the first thing I'm hearing is my voice for this Pity Martinez announcement, and then it's like, no, Devin, this is our voices. This is us. They clipped our channel. Thank you, Atlanta United. Clearly, you're watching. You guys are amazing. I really,
yes, you guys are legends, and
keep saying
thank you,
great things.
Thank you so much for letting us become a part of this iconic, just introductory video, best announcement for a player ever. And
100%,
100% biased.
100% biased. 100% best announcement video you could ever have for a player. But back to the lyrics. I want to say more thing. I think really what's happening is Atlanta United is having no pity on the rest of the league because clearly we're on a different level when it comes to functioning as a club. Our goals and what we're seeing in the vision that Darren Eales has and the rest of the team is matched clearly by Arthur Blank, the owner. We're splashing the cash on big name players and the ambition is clearly there to win and keep winning and to win everything. And you know what? I'm A-okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy that, of this caliber, he was pretty much the best player in South America. River Plate fans are just lauding him, singing songs. He kind of came from a really just not so great beginning at River Plate and really came on the last couple of years where the fans are really sad to see him go. That's really amazing stuff that we're getting this type of player. And so it's, kind of almost GOAT status there. And then, with I'm going to bang on about Led Zeppelin again with the greatest ever band. I mean, there you go. We're just doing some really crazy stuff.
Yes. I mean, to put it in perspective, within the last 10 years, other players to win the best player in South America, guy by the name of Neymar. He won it a couple times. And there's this other fella named Ronaldinho. Not sure if you've heard of him either. He won it the year that he won the Copa Libertadores.
Indeed.
So, yeah, this is the kind of player that Atlanta United are signing. Obviously, he isn't on that level yet, but it shows you the quality of the player that has been winning this award.
Right.
There have been two previous players who have won this award to play in MLS, but neither were 25, neither were in the peak of their career, and neither were really about to show you all the great things that we know he can offer to Atlanta United.
It's very true. Yeah, and so yes, Pity Martinez will occupy a designated player roster spot, and that's going to be very interesting because of all the transfer rumors and stuff surrounding Miguel Miran, Ezequiel Barco. We'll kind of get into a little bit more of that later in our mailbag of what the ramifications are and what we see and how they're going to set up if one said player is going to be staying or another said player is going to be staying. But I mean, just Pity Martinez, talking about the type of player he is, because now we finally have him. I mean, he is incredibly speedy as well.
Basically does everything but like win headers and stuff.
Exactly.
He's not that big of a guy.
Right, but he doesn't track back as much as Miguel Miran, but he's got a wand of a left foot. Shots from distance are incredible. He takes on a man and dribbles past them a lot. It will be very interesting to see how he shares a pitch with an Ezequiel Barco and a Darlington Nagbe. I think, if we're talking about a possession-based type of system, I mean, that's pretty much, some three guys that are really, really good for that type of system. But
absolutely. I mean, for him, he isn't as quick as Miguel Almiron. They're very much different style of players. I think he is much more technically gifted and much more technically developed than Miguel Almiron. Miggy's trait's really his speed and his work rate, and he's just going to run right past you.
Right.
Pity Martinez can dribble around a whole team in a very tight area, which is very difficult to do, but that ability on the ball is going to be very important in a system to what Frank de Boer is going to want to play. You have to be technically sound. You have to be a good passer. You have to be able to operate in tight spaces and operate quickly. That's the type of player Pity Martinez is. Not to mention, he scores a lot of goals, and he usually scores them in very big games.
Absolutely. He is absolutely clutch, and I think, Guillermo Barros Schelotto will tell you all about him. And
he will probably not be looking forward to that game this year, coming to the bins and going, oh, great, that guy again.
Yeah, exactly.
Betting right now, what are the odds of Pity Martinez to score against LA Galaxy in Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Yeah, I think we play them out there, though, so unfortunately
no, Galaxy's here this year, because Galaxy was out last year. LAFC's out
that's
now.
That's it. But either way, he will not be too fond of seeing Pity Martinez.
God forbid we played them in an MLS Cup final. If we were playing Galaxy, Zlatan versus Pity, but GBS is going to be going,
Yeah.
Oh, for Pete's sake, not for pity's sake.
Right, exactly, right. And you'll definitely see probably a lot more of the South American fans, probably River fans rooting for Atlanta United, and then Boca fans rooting for LA Galaxy. That would be some interesting scenes as well.
That would be a very interesting. They probably get a lot of views around the world. But hey, River fans, come on board. We're all about that life.
I'd be down to see that final. I mean, that's an interesting final, and with some of the biggest fan bases in MLS.
Preferably here, though. I don't want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no.
Our stadium is bigger.
I don't think LA Galaxy really have that, chance of really getting to a final one, but and then also hosting one.
They also have to deal with a 4DP type thing right now.
Exactly.
So.
Very similar situation, but
hey, maybe if us and them both asked at the same time, they'd allow a 4th DP spot this season. Be like, hey guys, hey MLS, you want to make some more money? We have an idea. Let us have 4 DPs.
Very true. But Atlanta United now have 3 of the most expensive transfers in MLS, and they're all under the age of 26. Crazy stuff, man. We're not operating on the MLS 2.0 level. It's really something that's just, we're changing the game. We're disrupting what has already been established, and I think the league is going to be better for it because you have players of this caliber coming into the league like this.
Well, I mean, as of right now, according to Transfermarkt, we have the 3 most valuable players in MLS all on the same team, in Miggy, Pity, and Joseph Martinez. Yeah. So, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation about his kit number, which is going to be interesting because, Miguel Miran wears the number 10. Pity Martinez wore number 10 at River Plate. Yeah, I mean, there's a conundrum there, and I think it's going to be resolved when Miguel Miran leaves, or if he doesn't, then he will wear another number. But I think it might be interesting though to actually kit reveal with Pity Martinez. I think you would sell a lot of jerseys that way, man, because people don't know his number. They have to really tune in. There it is.
I mean, I'm not the one to know what they're gonna do yet. I'll hopefully know at some point in time before the rest of you lot. But yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna go big or go home on that. We're gonna touch a bit more on that kit kind of stuff in the mailbag. But in terms of what shirt number he wears, who knows? I mean, if Miggy's still here, he's not getting 10 because Miggy gets to keep 10. Everyone's already bought an Almiron shirt. He'd get 10 next season. It's a number at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
really
he's
not
just
that
going to
important,
care
but
about winning. I mean, yeah, in terms of me worrying about stuff, the kit number is not exactly
it's not at the top of the list.
At the top of the list. I'm
Right.
more just still getting over the fact that it's done, it's official, it's announced. The thing we've known was going to happen since what feels like September, October has now been officially completed. And I mean, again, it just shows that Arthur Blank is just here and he's not playing any games whatsoever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And LGP has been doing some work behind the scenes.
What a guy.
Yeah,
Captain.
I mean, yeah, very much captain material. But on top of that, he's just an ambassador for Atlanta United, and apparently he was behind the scenes, really talking to Pity. Both former River Plate players now, but they never played together at the same time. But LGP, a massive River Plate fan, and I just had that way of being able to reach out to Pity and really tell him about how nice it is to play here. You got the core of Argentinian players. I mean, it ain't bad. And then probably talked about the level of play and just really great.
You're gonna score
ground.
a bunch of goals here. It's gonna be a great time. There's a bunch of people from South America. LeBond is welcoming for you.
Right.
It's just
great fans, great stadium. I mean,
what
it's
a guy.
Really, so
Good job, LGP.
yeah.
You're the man. I mean, you already were the man, but more. Nah, you can't be more so. You're just absolutely a unit. So
yeah, exactly. But and he was asked about if he played against any of the players on Atlanta United, and he said he thought he played against Miguel at Lanús. He said he's a great player. He's demonstrated that here also. Those are nice moments that you remember and now have the possibility to share the field with him. Interesting quote there, because yes, there is that possibility, and we'll get really deep into it later. But I mean, if it is where Barco is loaned, then Miggy probably stays at least into the interim into the summer. that will be interesting how we line up there.
Oh, absolutely. I think what's really interesting as well is the next part that he also said after that, where talking with LGP. I talked often with Leandro. From the very beginning, he spoke highly of the club and about the group. He's helped me and guided me a little in regards to the club, the city, and he convinced me to take this step.
Yeah, what a legend.
Pity Martinez already saying the right things as well.
Love it.
Man.
Absolutely love it.
Like, how can you not love this club right now? I mean, with what's happening, I don't think everyone panned this move of MLS coming to Atlanta. And obviously, 5 years later now, you're looking at it going, can anyone else in MLS keep up with Atlanta? I mean, because now to have the conundrum of who do we keep on the roster, by having this problem is how eventually you do end up having 4 DPs or 5 DPs or changing the rules in general, because
two of the biggest clubs in MLS are having that problem.
They're having that problem right now, and they're going to eventually look at the league and be like, look, we can make more money. We will put more butts in seats. We will have more sponsorship dollars if you let us have these big players. We can afford to pay them. We want to pay them.
And also
we can be here.
We can compete in bigger competitions like the CCL with these type of caliber players.
If we can start winning the CCL convincingly, not like convincingly, but enough to where the league is recognized. They're playing in a Club World Cup and giving a decent showing because you have really good players. That just raises the profile of the game and of the league itself. So again, even though it's a problem now, the fact that they're having this problem, as well as LA Galaxy having this problem, although admittedly our players are better because, well, they're not old and awful. It's pretty special to be a part of, and it's just awesome to see because, again, I think it's just another step of Atlanta United pushing the game and raising the game and making everyone else turn around and look going, what do we do?
Moving on into the news, the Atlanta United preseason schedule has been announced in terms of at least 4 matches, and February 2nd versus the Sounders. This is all in Fullerton, California. February 6th at Tijuana. February 10th at LAFC, and then February 13th versus LA Galaxy, also in Fullerton. But none are open to the public. Only LAFC, that match, is open to the media. And that's all we know so far. There might be developments later on, but in terms of that being, no preseason matches that are, visible to any of the public is kind of a hindrance.
Yeah, it's a hindrance for us, but it's also probably a good thing for the team. I don't think Frank de Boer will lose very much sleep over it because he'll be able to do things. Players will be able to make mistakes without maybe the media spotlight, with the exception of LAFC, without the fan spotlight. They'll be able to improve. The one thing for me that's very apparent about this that I love is that, we might not be able to see them, which would, suck, like you said. They're playing high-quality opposition. They are clearly trying to get into, tip-top match fitness as quickly as possible. They're not playing a Charleston Battery. They're playing the best of the best. I mean, they're playing a team from Mexico who are very good. They're playing both the LA teams who are very good. So clearly they're focused on getting match fit and proving themselves and playing against other teams that I imagine are going to be looking for something similar. I mean, Sounders, Galaxy, LAFC, all these teams want to come into the season raring to go. And they know that by playing Atlanta United, they're going to have a very difficult match. And even though it is preseason, I think they will all take them very seriously and trying to be at their best when they're going into the season. And for Atlanta United, obviously, I think that's key because it starts very quickly. I mean, you're right at under a month now until that first leg against Herediano in Costa Rica. So everything's getting going, everything's picking up steam, and I think obviously the most annoying bit would be if Pity Martinez is playing in those games and we won't get our first look at him until Herediano.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors at play here. Maybe it's so, preseason wise, there aren't any eyes from, say, CS Herediano looking at how we're setting up and seeing how we're going to play. And then also, with Bielsa Gate.
Yeah, I was about to say, Bielsa does not manage in MLS, so at least that was in my mind the whole time. And if you haven't seen that, it's a long story, but it's a very South American, Central American thing, so they'll probably still have someone there somehow because, that's how it works.
Yeah. And, so there's maybe a little bit of that. Maybe there's a little bit of, but last season, we did play kind of a really kind of poor opposition preseason, and it was kind of worked out still. We still were MLS Cup champions, so I think, though, we did start off very poorly to, start off at Houston Dynamo. That was not spectacular.
Not so good.
So, you have those aspects that maybe we're trying to kind of gear off and, ramp really, from an uphill position all the way down, so just a lot easier than trying to uphill from the very off. So I think it's maybe, there's a lot of factors there at play, and maybe also a kit reveal, maybe type of thing that might not, if you have preseason games and you have it in public, right?
And if you have it in public, you're gonna see it.
To see it, yeah.
That's again, that might be why, because I will continue to say. We'll answer it later. I'm not gonna get into it now.
Yeah. But so in terms of that, I think there is a lot of factors at play. I'm upset that we won't be able to watch any of them. Probably there maybe, hopefully, is a stream, for at least LAFC if media are there. Hopefully,
because I think we'll be in Bank of California Stadium, right?
Probably, or something or another. So yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I mean, it's gonna kind of suck to have the first match probably be that Herediano match in Costa Rica. But I mean, if it is what it is, then
I'm curious to see what kind of coverage we'll get out of them. Be like, do we even know the scores, or it's like Atlanta and Seattle played, and you will know nothing about what happened.
Exactly.
It's like we could have housed them 7-0 or something, or they could have housed us like 5-0, and we would have no idea. And it's just like, wow, what's going on? I think another thing, though, that's very important is obviously Frank de Boer will implement some tactical changes to how things played. I think it's going to be important for them that they will be playing an equal level opposition that they can test those tactics against. It is kind of a trial by fire. Sometimes, obviously, you'd like to play maybe a lesser opposition, but I think in this particular scenario, it helps that they'll be playing against basically teams that
we won't see.
But I also don't think he will be playing his whole hand against them either, because why show your hand in preseason against teams that you will see in the regular season?
Agreed. But yeah, I mean, moving on to the next piece of news, or just a behind the scenes video. I mean, Frank de Boer with his just talk with the whole team. I think it was on the second day of training. And yeah, I mean, he was pretty much putting Jose Martinez on the spot, Brechet on the spot, Julian Gressel. I mean, very surprisingly good English from Jose Martinez as well. But really insightful stuff from that video.
Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, I don't think it's something that should be taken too seriously, because it's an early team meeting, and I don't think that Frank de Boer is the type of guy that would want the camera there when he's actually talking about what he wants the team to believe. I think that's very much what he and the club wanted you to see. I think it was important for the club to put that out there to kind of give the fans this easy thing of, well, here he is communicating with the squad. It was very cool, though, and for me personally, I will never grow tired of behind-the-scenes videos like this. I love them. I think they're awesome. I won't complain when they put them out, but I also wouldn't expect to get too much or read too far into any of this.
I think, like kind of softballs like this, where they're not really talking about tactics. They're not really talking about anything too heavy, but they're just really kind of outlining that, there's a target on our backs, and what we'll have to do to really live up to now our MLS Cup winning form and kind of name and all that type of stuff. So I think it's good to show that the players understand what's going on, what the battle is ahead for them. So I think it's good stuff from the team, and hopefully there's more of this little kind of tidbits in the future. But next bit of news is that Julian Gressel, he hopes to work out a new contract with Atlanta United, and he wants to stay with the club for a long time. That's according to the AJC. He's saying pretty much like, he's focused on playing. He's gonna let his agent work it out, but there's so far no deadline, and there aren't any updates on a contract. So that is kind of a thing where I think he's trying to get the team to maybe tender him a contract, a new some more contract negotiations for a new contract, because he's kind of really overperformed his contract. He deserves probably a raise. It's just a matter of how much, because it starts to get in that territory where, is he getting into TAM territory? Is it starting to be DP territory?
I think he's a player that will have his contract situation resolved at some point later in the season. I think right now, your efforts are definitely on Pity, Almiron, Barco, and all the moving wheels there about what will happen if someone stays, if someone goes, who's coming, who's going. I think that's their main focus right now. I think that he absolutely has played well above what his contract pays him. No one really
14
expected,
assists in his sophomore season.
No one expected that of him. Rookie of the year in his first season.
Right.
I think it's definitely going to be a case of having another very good season for him will secure him a very large paycheck. I also think that at the end of the season, you will be seeing some wages of some older players be coming off the books to where he can step into kind of that role of or that contract spot basically where he'll be getting paid what certain players will no longer be getting paid because they won't be at the club. So I think that'll have something to do with it. They may be looking into the future and taking care of it. But again, he's a player that absolutely deserves every dime that we give him because he has been an incredible player. He gives 115% early every single time he steps on the pitch, every time he pulls on the shirt. You can tell that it means something to play with that badge on his chest. And as a supporter, you really can't ask any more of a player like that.
All right. Next bit of news is an article from Andrew Wiebe of MLSsoccer.com. He pretty much, quote unquote, said the future of MLS looks a whole lot like Atlanta's offseason. Pretty much where, making moves where, you're selling a big name player and then you're also bringing in a big name player. Huge things that maybe not everybody and every club is doing. And I think that's something that, yes, for the future of MLS, more clubs should be doing this so that, we actually become part of the global market instead of just operating within MLS ourselves.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of people, if you look at the history of Major League Soccer, it's very much focused as kind of a league within itself with the exception of older players coming here as an end of their career.
Right.
And that's kind of been the formula for a long period of time, and now that is changing. But Atlanta is really the club that's spearheading this. We're really the first club that's looking to run our club in a model similar to the rest of the world. And it's very difficult. And there was another article by Paul Tenorio in The Athletic, and he kind of had some interesting views on the stance that we were taking with Miguel Almiron. Because for many people, it's seen as key that Miguel Almiron moves in this window, and that for him not to move would be a very, very poor judgment on the club's part. I fully disagree with that. I think that the club is showing that it has a valuation for a player that it fully believes in. Darren Eales worked under a fella by the name, I cannot stand him, but a fella by the name of Daniel Levy at Tottenham. If you know who he is, you know why I can't stand him. If you don't, he is one of the shrewdest negotiators in world football, and if he has a price, you will pay that price, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't have a problem with Darren Eales kind of setting this price because I think that you can make a $10 million profit right now if he sold him to Newcastle for $20 million. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about saying this is the largest deal to ever happen in this league's history. We're making a massive profit off this player. He is receiving a massive increase. It's a statement about what this club is, our vision, our model, and how we want to grow. And exactly like you said, we don't want to be a player on the Major League Soccer market. We want to be a part of the global market. And by doing that, sometimes maybe you have to take a hit on things, and maybe you have to wait a little bit longer to get that deal.
But next bit of news was that George Bello talked about that starting left back position, and that he knows that, quote, no spot is guaranteed. You just have to keep fighting for it. I mean, that's one of those, he knows what the task is at hand. And when Greg Garza was sold, yes, he was surprised. He wasn't expecting it. But he was definitely, he looked up to Greg Garza. He really wanted to, but use this as an opportunity and, keep his mind focused and not get complacent because this is, it's pretty much his job to lose. But, no one is really saying that, but he is pretty much penned for that starting left back position.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for him. A player of his age, but with a player of his ability and his potential is massive. I think you're definitely looking at, an Alphonso Davies type situation where I think sooner rather than later he could be plying his trade in Europe. He clearly bulked up over the offseason to deal with some of the physical demands of playing.
He has actually mentioned that he didn't really change his regimen at all. He didn't really lift extra weights.
But he's definitely bulked up. You can look at the pictures.
I think it's maybe the haircut. I think he mentioned that a little bit. And maybe just growing older. I think
maybe growing older. But either way, he looks bigger than he did last year. He looks like more of a professional footballer than a kid making his debut.
Sure.
And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he has to offer this season. I think that everyone, even though I've just said he could be playing in Europe, you need to temper your expectations because there might be some learning pains, some growing pains here and there. but I think he's going to be a very good player for us in the future.
Right.
And again, I really look forward to seeing what he has to offer.
Right, and he just turned 17. Happy birthday to George Bello as well. But
17.
Yeah, and
17.
Already pretty much the club is moving pieces away so that they could put him into a position to be able to.
He has the right manager to develop him as well. When you look at the history of Frank de Boer and what he does with very talented young players.
Yeah, especially a defender.
I think he could definitely show him a thing or two.
Indeed. But next bit of news is Brendan Moore coming back into town. He's a Roswell, Georgia product, and he was plying his trade at like a Fleetwood town in Europe, in England. Kind of a championship or
League One
type of team, but still
lower division English football,
Yeah.
but still very high level.
Exactly.
I don't want to think that League One or the Championship or League Two. No, it's still a very high level. It just doesn't have as much money in the game as the Premier League. They're still really good.
Right, exactly. And the fact that he was able to make that move from here is very, very good.
Because it's difficult to get a visa to play over there sometimes, especially as an American. It's not as easy as many people would think. And for him to make that move and to play there for the time that he did is good for him.
Right, and he was saying that, it was his goal to always come home, and he just didn't know when it was going to happen, but he felt like this was the right time. I think, with his hometown team just winning MLS Cup, and, Brad Guzan getting a little older, and maybe there's some guys in the pipeline that can make some moves to take over, whether it's an Alec Can or a Brendan Moore. It's gonna remain to be seen, but it would be very, very interesting to see if he really shows out, and if he can prove his way into maybe an Atlanta United 2 spot, maybe a starting spot there. We'll see.
Absolutely.
But,
I mean, just backup keeper at the end of the day, but
Right.
again, Brad Guzan is getting older, so you never really know. I mean, really try to take your chance and play as well as you can, and who knows where it'll end up. I think that's a great part of this club as well, is that if you're good enough, you're going to get a shot. And I really believe that under this new manager as well, that if you're good enough, you're going to get a shot.
And they obviously believed enough in him, as well as, knowing that he's a local product as well. But, when you have that type of, thing in your system as well, where you have those homegrowns, you have those guys that knows what it means to put on the badge, that's very important, I feel like. And guys, let's get into the injury report. And it was reported that Ezequiel Barco, he would be, possibly out 3 to 4 weeks, right? But he's been seemingly just, trading along, and, like nothing even happened.
I just don't think we wanted him with the U20 team. I mean, that sounds kind of awful, but there's actually another article that came out today that talked about how apparently we're not going to cooperate with the under-20 U.S. men's national team. With Tab Ramos. He kind of shot that down on Twitter. But I'm just going to say right now, in terms of George Bello, hands off. But anyway, back to Barco.
It's a classic club versus country type of situation.
Yeah, Manchester United used to do that all the time.
Right.
And if you're having to deal with things that Manchester United had to deal with when you're saying, hey, these players are important to us and you can't have them, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because that means we're trying to win.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for George Bello, it was a conversation about a friendly versus him in the playoffs. Yeah, like, yes, maybe he's not starting, but he's getting valuable experience. Not only even just sitting on the bench, but even just those kind of training sessions in that type of environment.
Better than U20s.
Yeah.
Back to that, though.
Absolutely.
Digressing back to Barco, we were kind of worried, obviously, at the beginning, because it's like, dang, is he going to start off the season again with another injury? But he seems fit.
Right.
But again, who knows if he's going to be plying his trade in Atlanta in a few weeks' time.
Yes.
But being fit makes it a whole lot easier to move him if he needs to move.
That's true. Indeed. But speaking of a player that has moved, it is Greg Garza, and that's just a very unfortunate injury that he suffered, a low-grade quad strain at the U.S. men's national team. And it's one of those things where you kind of see why maybe Greg Garza was moved on. A great guy, a great player, but just really unlucky with the injuries, and that's just unfortunate, I feel like, because if he had maybe was able to stay off of the injury report for any amount of time less than what he had, then he probably would still be an Atlanta United player.
Yeah, but it was a sizable amount of money that we were investing in a player who wasn't really playing, and when you have a guy like George Bello behind him, you got to give him a chance. And I think that the team did that. We wish Greg Garza the best. I hope he has a speedy recovery, but not speedy enough to where he lines up and plays for Cincinnati in that home opener where it was announced that there will be some sort of ring ceremony, banner reveal of some sort, that it will be in the works. I hope he's there. I hope he's not playing, but I hope he gets to stand on the field, get his ring, and watch a banner that he was very instrumental in helping hang up there. So, best of luck to him.
Indeed, indeed. But moving on, homegrown player Chris Goslin has a left knee strain, and he's week to week, and that's according to the AJC. I want to see him get back healthy and really get back into the plans. Either it's going to be, some, maybe good minutes at Eleni United 2, or maybe kind of sneaking into the first team in Frank de Boer's plans. But he's a kind of instrumental midfielder that I think could play in this system. And it's just a matter of him being healthy, and he's kind of struggled with some injuries the time he's been here. So, hopefully he can kind of get healthy and really come on, because we will need as many guys as possible for all of these competitions that we're going to be in.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has struggled with fitness, and for a player his age, that has to be very, very frustrating. So hopefully he can get fit, because I think this year the plan will be for him to play significant minutes at Atlanta United 2 to help him get consistent playing experience against professionals. But I do think he will feature for the first team at some point in time this year. I don't think he'll start, but I think he definitely has a chance to come on, play as a substitute, maybe in some US Open Cup games, maybe even in MLS games, depending on how fixture congestion goes and who's fit, who's with the team, who's playing international football, come June, July. So there's going to be opportunities for him. And with Frank de Boer, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So I think he has a great shot to play this year as well, if he can stay fit.
But guys, let's move on into the transfer rumors. And the first bit, well, at least from the past week, was that Tito Villalba was linked with Club America. And that was also, Barco was kind of linked with that as well. It kind of turned out that it was actually, they were interested in a lot of players in MLS, but Kaku was the guy that they were actually looking for at Club America. And Red Bulls.
Seems he's throwing all of his toys out of the pram in order to get that move forced through.
Red Bulls apparently are asking for 12. Club America can only offer around 6 or 7. Kaku is tweeting some really interesting stuff, and in regards to Atlanta United,
don't care.
If he leaves, it kind of sucks for them in terms of the MLS landscape, but in terms of against Red Bulls,
don't care.
Works out for us. But in terms of that,
although I still think he's trying to find his way out of Eric Remedi's pocket, so I'm not sure. It will take a little bit of climbing to find his way all the way to Mexico City. Yeah,
indeed. But also another rumor regarding Ezequiel Barco. The Athletic pretty much mentioned that Eleni and I were shopping him on loan to Argentina and Mexico. Very interesting stuff, because another rumor pretty much came out today that this was from let me find it really quick. This was from Augusto Cesar from De Una con Niembo, and that says that Ezequiel Barco and Tito Villalba have been reportedly offered to Boca Juniors, and I think it's on a loan. There weren't any more details on that, but I think the speculation, it seems like Tito is the price for them to take on Barco. If that is the case, it's very, very interesting.
If that's the case, nope. Because I'm not giving up Tito. I think Tito has to play, could be the rotation striker for Joseph.
Exactly. He's in my eyes, the second best striker on the team.
Yes.
To be able to play that position, out and out. And so it's one of those things, like, we need him for all the competitions. But
I feel comfortable for him, if Joseph is being rotated, which he'll have to be, the person I most feel comfortable to lead the line would be Tito.
Yeah.
So I just don't see a scenario for us to... besides, Boca should be happy and be like, no, we'll just take Barco because we got rid of Pity for you, so maybe you can beat River for once. Because when he was there, you couldn't do it. So, do us a solid.
It's one of those two things too as well. Ezequiel Barco, coming from there as well. Do they have enough money in Argentina to pay these guys their wages? No, unsure.
That's over $2 million a year you're looking at, and we're not subsidizing Barco for sending him out. So that's 1.6 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So plus the 500 for Tito, at least.
Yeah, and so, on top of all that, I think Barco, with kind of his history in the league, I don't know if he's going to play for Boca Juniors. It's a very interesting
the rivalries
scenario.
and tensions run deep there for sure.
Very interesting rumor, and I don't really buy into it too much, but if it were, it's an interesting one for sure. But
the next one, well, I kind of take the next one because I have very strong feelings about the next one.
Go for it.
So, guys, the next one we're going to get on to our weekly Miguel Almiron to Newcastle update because that just keeps rolling right along. Interestingly enough, it seems as if Miguel Almiron, maybe not him personally, but the idea of buying good players is at the bit of a tug-of-war scenario right now in Newcastle. It seems that manager Rafa Benitez is threatening to leave the club if he has not provided funds to get players to strengthen the squad. For those of you who understand or have been watching, Newcastle don't spend money because Mike Ashley is a dickhead. If I had the wasteman of the week right now, it'd be him every week because, well, he's just absolutely a terrible owner. We've been talking about this for a while now because he's continuously been linked to them. The rumors have recently said that Newcastle won't go any higher than 20 million, and obviously Darren Eales is firmly set on 30. I'm of the opinion that this will not happen because, as with every transfer window, Mike Ashley has said he was going to sell the club, so he's not going to invest, but now he's not going to sell the club, so he's not going to invest. So
but there's also that aspect that Newcastle will receive a chunk of cash in the end of this window, 55 million pounds, in fact, and that's something that he could really have the money to invest in this club.
But he won't spend it.
No, but he's worried about buying other websites or other
or saving the high street in England
yeah,
because that's what he loves doing. Charitable work outside of football. Again,
Right.
he is one of the worst owners in soccer.
And their fans absolutely hate him.
Him. He is absolutely hated.
We should be absolutely grateful that we have an owner like Arthur Blank.
Yes, they've brought some players in on loan. Jordan Lukaku, the brother of Romelu Lukaku, so that's not exactly adding goals.
Right, so possibly that might affect the Miguel Miran transfer there if that ever was on the cards. Because, them bringing in more guys in, that's more guys on the wage bill. Does that leave room for Miguel Miran?
Correct.
Who knows?
Again, in his wages, if brought in, they would have to have a relegation clause, which if they got relegated, which is a distinct possibility, that his wages would go down. He's not going to do that because he's not moving to Europe for that. He could make the same amount of money here.
Right. It's a very less than ideal situation for him because, yes, there is kind of all facets that we want, there to be a good situation for. Miguel Miran, if he moves to the Prem, you want him to be able to stay in the Prem. For one, that's also a big deal because if he if basically it's this, you have eyes on everything, and so if a team is looking at buying an MLS player, they want to see that that player did well and stayed in the Prem, even if it wasn't his fault. It's one of those like, is he still a Premier League player? Well, if he stays up, then, technically, yes, he is. But there's also the, South American connection. Those players coming from down there to here, they want to see that there is a clear model and path for them from MLS to Europe. And so, this is all very, very important. We have to make sure it's the
right move. It has to be the right move for Miguel Almiron. It has to be the right move for Eleni United. And it has to be the right move for the buying club in England.
Right.
And I just don't think that Newcastle, at this point in time, maybe with new ownership, if that ever happens, which I really don't think it will in the near future, although I'd love it to because Newcastle is a massive club. And as much as I've downplayed this link, I think Newcastle, if they were stable and if they're where they should be with investment, would be a great club for Miguel Almiron. Because again, they're one of the biggest clubs in England. People might not recognize this, but 10 years ago, before that team on the other side of Manchester got bought by they're one of the richest families in the world, but we're not going to talk about that today. Newcastle was a Champions League club. Like, that's the kind of size that Newcastle is. I mean, they were challenging for the league in the 90s under Kevin Keegan. It's a big team. If he was to move there and the scenario was good, I think it'd be a great place for him to be. But unfortunately, at the current point in time, it's not. However, he was also linked to another club that I don't particularly like in Tottenham. Fun fact, he's not going there either because they also have no money because they don't know how to build a stadium properly.
Right. There's a lot of issues there and money owed, but this link was also very, very weak to begin with.
There's no sources.
Yeah, no sources on it, and we're keeping an eye on it, but they have been linked previously with Tottenham, but this one's even weaker. I think it's kind of more a dartboard action because they're in an injury and depth crisis with Harry Kane, with with Son out on the the Asian Cup, and then you have just it's not a dearth of a lot of players at their
They have
disposal at the
zero
moment.
squad depth whatsoever. They brought no players in the
Right.
summer because they couldn't afford it because
And
of
so-
the stadium, and they can't bring any players now. They sold Moussa Dembele for what, £8 million
Right.
to China because
They needed
the money. So that's not a link that I see happening either. What I will say though, Sky Sports actually tweeted out today after we announced Pity Martinez that we have a problem. The fact that Sky Sports is mentioning us and putting it out there on their main feed. Speculation is going to increase over the next week. It's going to ramp up. It always goes absolutely more silly in silly season in this last week of the window because in Europe, everyone decides we're going to be procrastinators like college students with a final paper due and wait till the absolute last minute to do things. So keep it tuned to Atlanta United Fan TV. We're going to have all of our social media covering it. Twitter, Instagram. If you need anything, stay with us because we will have that news for you as it drops.
Right. But, in terms of that, I think Miguel Miran getting linked with the likes of Tottenham, it is still a good thing because, you have very large size clubs being linked with, our big name that's being shopped. And so, the more names and more, kind of clubs that are linked with him, the better it is.
The more his price goes up.
Exactly. And so,
And if you have a guy like Darren Eales who did work with Tottenham under a very shrewd negotiator and Daniel Levy, he will definitely play all those factors against each other to get the best deal for both Miguel Miran and Atlanta United.
And it's also a fun fact, and many of you probably know this as well. Yes, the sale of Gareth Bale to Real Madrid from Tottenham was pretty much sanctioned and done by Darren Eales, so he knows a thing or two about kind of transfer sagas, big deals. I think
Big clubs and the English market. So we have the perfect guy to help us negotiate between here and there.
Yeah.
So just don't worry about it, guys. Whatever happens will happen. I know that might not be comforting to you, but we've got DZ in charge of things, so everything will be okay.
Indeed. Let's get into our boy Devin was on Fox 5. Really congrats to him. It was on the Pity thing when he arrived. He was talking a little bit about it, and just want to shout him out. If you haven't seen the thing, we'll link that segment below. But really cool of someone from our camp to be able to get on some local television. So really cool on that. But we're also doing a giveaway of Devin's hat that was signed by Pity Martinez. And so, if you haven't seen on our social medias, just to make sure, you get in on this and you have the possibility of winning this Pity Martinez signed hat. All you gotta do is tag 3 people, retweet, and there it is. You have a chance to win it. And so we'll announce the winner on February 5th.
Moving on from that is definitely the highlight of this show. And it is the heaviest hitting of questions that was posed to all of us by Michael Parkhurst on Twitter. Yeah. It asked, "My son just stumped me right before bed, asking who would win the following fight. Important thoughts to end the day. I told him I'd find out. Captain America and Wolverine versus Iron Man and the Hulk."
Yeah, and so, there's a lot of guys that have pretty much voted Iron Man and Hulk versus Captain America and Wolverine. I have a little bit of bone to pick because, a lot of people were like, oh, okay, Hulk wins every single fight.
Yeah.
Not quite. Because I think the first fight that Wolverine was even part of with Hulk, it was pretty even. I would say it's not quite as cut and dry as this, 2-1 would seem. It was pretty much a draw up until, I think, Wolverine in the very first appearance for Wolverine, he got knocked out. But
that usually isn't what happened with these fights. They either usually just ends up knocking him unconscious, or in the worst case scenario,
because he can't die.
Yeah, he neither can die. In one scenario, which is really gruesome, Hulk actually rips Wolverine's legs off, throws him 4 miles up a mountain, and Wolverine goes and gets them because that's what Wolverine does. So I think it honestly would end up them all beating each other to hell, and then you'd have Wolverine and Hulk still going at it basically till the end of time.
Yeah. I think it comes down to this. I mean, the fact is probably Captain America, unfortunately, is the most vulnerable here. And
I don't know. I mean, Tony Stark is like bang average outside of a suit.
Oh, absolutely. But
yeah, boy loves me some. I love Iron Man, so I can't help it.
No, it's Iron Man can probably outsmart Captain America, but in terms of Captain America, his actual fighting prowess, his type of.
He can't fly, so that's probably.
He can't fly. The strategery in that will be a little bit more difficult. Obviously these are very important things that we're talking about.
These are the deepest of questions that you absolutely come to Atlanta United Fan TV to find the answers to.
But I'm unabashedly a Marvel fan, so I saw this and I was like, we have to talk about it.
I'm still going Iron Man Hulk.
Yeah, I think
it's a lot closer than what people say, though.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's more of a 45-55, not a 2-to-1 type of degree.
I think that it's a really close one, but Iron Man and Hulk go through on away goals.
Yeah, there it is. But guys, let's get into the mailbag. You guys send in these questions from IG Story. Please continue to do so, and your question might be answered in the future. First question comes from Carson ATL Hawks 26. Do you think with Pity, Miggy, and Joseph, we could make a deep run in CCL?
Yes. I mean, I think we could, if it was Barco instead of Miggy, but because we know that 2 of those 3 will be here, and that's Pity and Joseph will both be here. Whoever that third player is, I'm still fully confident. But if it's Miguel Almiron, I am very confident that we have a great chance to win the whole damn thing. I mean, I think in terms of talent, especially going forward, you'll be pressed to find other clubs with as much attacking talent as Atlanta United, and that's including Mexico. I mean, that's an incredible forward line to have, guys. Not to mention, you'd have, a Tito Villalba coming off the bench, ideally. You have these talented players behind them as well, so it's just like, yeah.
And we have apparently the second biggest in terms of, worth of club in the whole CCL. So very, very interesting. I mean, that means, we are probably one of the favorites to probably win this in terms of at least the money put in and what the values are of these players. But in terms of a Pity, Miggy, Joseph kind of lineup, oh man, it's just you are licking your chops at how to really set it all up, because really, you can't really go wrong too much with Pity and Miggy in the same lineup. But next question comes from Zach of all trades, Master of Zero. Great name, of course, there. But what is more likely to solve the roster? Barco to Argentina, Villalba to Mexico, or Almiron to EPL?
I think Tito doesn't really solve anything if he moves because he's not a DP anymore.
Exactly, but a little bit of TAM money.
I would say that in this scenario, it's going to be Miggy to the EPL because you're going to get the most money. You're going to have a permanent solution, whereas Barco would be a temporary solution.
And then you
it's
have to
also
figure out
not
something
the most ideal with the 6-month loan, or is it a year-long loan? Then you wouldn't have him in the summer, which is when Miguel Almiron would absolutely move. If he doesn't move in January, he would move in the summer, which isn't ideal for us because it's mid-season. I think if you can move Miguel Almiron in this window, you do it. Obviously, we don't want him to go. We love the idea of the previous question, seeing him, Joseph, and Pity all playing together, but it's a business and there's financial restrictions placed on us by MLS, unfortunately. So I think the easiest of all, though, would be Miggy to the EPL.
Yeah, for sure. But also, I think for Barco, it is probably in his best interest to stay also because, a year's worth of tutelage under Frank de Boer could
be huge.
Yeah, much better than the alternative of maybe wherever he goes. And
I think the situation of living and everything is
Right.
going to be much easier here. He is finally, I think, started to settle here, start making his friends here.
Right.
And then to make him move again as a young player will be very tough mentally on him, especially if he goes somewhere and it's not good. You could really be putting yourself even further behind the 8 ball in terms of his development. So.
And in terms of that, though, if he moves to Mexico, it's maybe a lateral move. And if he moves to Europe, I think it's a lot better of a move because it's a little bit more challenging for one, and maybe it fits the style of what he is capable of as well. And
if you're able to loan him to Europe, I think that would be. If you could loan Barco to Spain, that would be the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's possible right now, but again, with the front office we have, nothing at this point would surprise me.
Indeed. Next question comes from Nichols at Night. If Barco leaves on loan until summer, what is the best destination for him? And we kind of answered that above.
I'd say Spain.
Yeah, Spain is probably the thing that makes sense for his not only just playing style, but if we can get a system that matches what he is capable of and a kind of more possession-based type of style, then I think it's a lot better of a scenario. If we don't, not ideal.
Well, I think the other thing you might end up seeing if you manage to loan him to Spain somehow it could be a loan with an option to buy. Because if he's going to a La Liga club and he goes and he impresses and plays well, they're not going to want to let him go.
Right.
Because they're going to be like, well, he's here, we have him, he fit in here, let's just keep him. So that's something that could happen as well. So, that's, kind of playing Football Manager or FIFA in our heads a little bit. But if that happened, I think him going to Spain would be absolutely ideal. Again, because I think it would be a step up for him, and I think that he could do really, really well there. All that being said, I think that he would greatly benefit again from a year under Frank de Boer. He's a technical player. De Boer's a technical coach. I think he could develop him a lot. He is a young player.
Right.
He fits into the mold of the kind of player that Frank de Boer brings the best out of. And I think that for as many people want to see Barco go and Miggy stay, I think that if Barco stays, you'll be very surprised by the output you get from him this season. I think he's definitely lined up to have a big season with Eleni United this year, and I expect him to do big things. I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah, and I think, for me, I want to, hope that he can, because for that, the health of the club, for the transfer fee, for just really optics all around, you want your players to do well. I really never hope that a player, even if they had some, transgressions aside, and it really wasn't even, to a degree where it's something that, pretty much that other player has forgiven him, so it seems. And so, all seems well in the brotherhood, perhaps. And so, I think we just have to kind of really root for our players to really do well so that they can make the move. Our club does well. We can recoup these transfer fees. It all ties in together. Next question, Alex Clough 9 asks, if Almiron were to stay, how would that affect the lineup now that we have Pity?
I think it's interesting. It would depend obviously on the formation that Frank de Boer chooses to play. If he sticks with his tried and true 4-3-3, I think you could see a situation with a very fluid front three of Miggy, Pity, and Joseph up front with doesn't really matter. I think you'd have both Miggy and Pity kind of moving around, creating chaos, just finding space on the wings. And coming inside as well and trying to just take up dangerous positions constantly. It would be a
Pity
nightmare.
cutting in is...
It would just be a nightmare for teams to figure out who to mark in that scenario. Plus, if you have Miggy on the right cutting in onto his left, it's good stuff. But I could also see a scenario where you play Miggy in a midfield 3 as kind of like a box-to-box 8 kind of guy, because he's shown he has the work rate to do that.
Right, and of course, Faco Escobar is injured, and so you might see more of a 5-3-2 with Julian Gressel coming in as that right wing back, of course. But, if Julian Gressel shows enough to play well in a 4-man backline as that right back...
Which I think he can do,
because
what can't this guy do?
It's true. It'd be an interesting, you can pretty much add way more attackers into the lineup. It just depends on the opposition that you're playing against. If it's against a weaker opposition, maybe at the bends, then sure. But
we basically would say, we see that you're parking the bus and we're just going to smash right through the damn thing because we don't care.
Yeah, and we have enough offensive players on the pitch to be able to break through that and unlock the defense. But, if there's, Pity up top with Joseph, with Miggy at the 10, that could be one as well. I think Barco, unfortunately, also doesn't fit into this 5-3-2 or 3-5-2 again.
You wouldn't have all 4 of them, so...
Exactly, and exactly. And I think I mean Tito here, because it's going to be difficult to fit him in here, but in a 4-3-3, it works. But in
4-3-3, you're playing at home and you're lining up in a 4-3-3. You have Julian Gressel at right back. He's going to be bombing down the right, overlapping like a madman. You have Tito going wherever he goes because he's such a direct player. He's a nightmare. You have Miggy making surging runs from midfield, so that you're already concerned about Joseph and Pity Martinez cutting in from the left-hand side. And then not to mention you can have Bella coming down the left. And then, Miggy just arriving in that area to bang home some goals from outside the 18. That's just a terrifying prospect. If that is the team that ends up lining up for Atlanta United at home against Cincinnati, we are going to house them. Not to mention we already want to. Yeah, I don't think they'd be the only team on the wrong side of a big scoreline come this season if that was the case.
Very true. And last question, Jay Simpson 1130 asks, when are the new kits going to be revealed?
We get this question every week. I get this question every day working at the store. It's going to be mid to late February to our knowledge right now, guys. The Super Bowl is kind of complicating everything for everyone in Atlanta on every level, but specifically for us because, the stadium is closed. And that's kind of where everything is a base from because, that's the stadium. So we don't expect it to happen until mid to late February. So even though you see the stars on the King Peach kit, You're not going to see the new red and black kit, whatever it's going to look like when it drops, because, well, they're going to wait until it gets leaked, which will probably be a week before it comes out anyway, so, you know. But if it does get leaked, it'll be on social media, so it'll be there. But in terms of official release, it's still not going to be until next month, so unfortunately, you will have to continue to patiently wait. Don't worry, I am waiting right there with you. I am ready to see these things, because it's going to be big. I think it's going to be awesome, and I think that's why they're going to wait, because they're going to do something to blow everything out of the water, because, well, that's kind of what this club does with everything.
Yeah, and I hope so, certainly, because, yeah, there's also that other aspect where all the preseason games at this moment are not being, you know, shown or streamed or just really for the public at all. And so you have that where maybe because, you know, they might be playing in some different kits and stuff like that.
I don't think we'll play in the new kit during preseason, for what it's worth.
Hopefully not. But it's one of those, you know, you will have a kit clash. And so where are they going to play in training kits? I mean,
I think they might just play in the King Peach every game.
It could be. But yeah, I mean, there will be away, pretty much the away team every single match. So it very well could be. But it's going to be interesting. I think it will be in between the Herediano match and preseason. I think somewhere in there it looks prime for something to happen.
Yeah, but absolutely, again, follow out on Atlanta United social media because they will have an announcement when it's going to drop. But also, like we said earlier, continue to follow us on social media because, well, if something leaks, that's where it'll probably be as well, because this guy is a boss on things. Do not take it for granted. He is the man when it comes to news for Atlanta United. But guys, moving on from that, we will get into our question of the day. And today's been pretty much all about Pity Martinez. But our question to you is, now that it's a done deal and he is officially an Atlanta United player, who do you think will leave to make space for him? Not who do you want to leave, but who do you think in your gut at the end of the day will be that player to make space? Will it be Almiron? Will it be Barco? Hit us up in the comments below and let us know what you guys think. And guys, one last thing before we finally depart for the day. All of our thoughts and prayers are up to Emiliano Sala and his family and the two clubs involved there. Unfortunately, if you haven't been following the situation, he was making a move from Nantes to Cardiff, and unfortunately his plane went down missing in the English Channel, and they have officially called off the search for him. It does not look like they will find him or recover anything from him or the plane or the pilot who was on the plane with him. Again, all of our thoughts and prayers to his family, to both clubs, and everyone affected by this awful, awful tragedy. This is one of the worst things you can see as a fan. And from all of us here at Atlanta United Fan TV, and I think I can speak for all of us from Atlanta United, all our thoughts are with you.
But guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, smash that like button, and share this video because it really does help us a lot. And from Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.